former county employee, Nairobi City County. I just switched hats. So I mean, Nairobi County was good character development. I learned a lot. Now I'm back to, as they call it, Nairobi Sokoni. Let me start with a story, I think. You know, growing up, my mom and dad used to give us those stories to encourage us. You know, we walked from Kisumu to Nairobi. I slept on the floor. I was number one in class. And they used to narrate to us, you know, when they were in Kisumu there, when they used to sit around the fireplace, and the grandparents would give them stories around culture, they would sing, they would exchange folk stories, etc. And these platforms of fireside chats used to be a place for learning, for sharing, and you know, just reflecting on the day and how the farm was. So that's the narrative that I would give if you don't understand anything. I would give to the County Business Support Index. It's just a tool, it's a fine place to help us reflect around the business environment and see how we can be able to assist county governments, national governments, together with stakeholders on how to improve. So in very simple terms, that's the thing. And of course, having been here for a while in terms of supporting counties, ESOs, PTCs, we thought that, and of course this is the mantra around VIFA, is to use evidence, is to use data to help processes around counties improve, as well as national government. So in terms of our approach, so again, we all remember the ease of doing business index that was being run by World Bank. I think it ran around 2019. And the idea around that was to help national governments improve in terms of supporting small businesses. So there are certain indices that they are following through in terms of either access to electricity, looking at access to justice for small businesses, etc. So this particular index almost like follows the same trajectory, but is more on the ground, as people would call it. So the CBS County Business Support Index seeks to display a comprehensive topography of the business or business environment within the county governments, with a particular focus on small businesses as well as startups in 10 pilot counties. Again, because of the concept on the process, and of course it's a new concept, we just decided to focus on 10 pilot counties that are based on their GDP, based on their county gross product. So meaning that we chose, or we selected counties that have the highest economic activities based on their contribution to national GDP, or just looking at the county gross product. And of course, we're looking at the financial year 2023-2024, and we're particularly looking at cost of doing business. So in terms of licenses, how costly or how cheap or how fair it is for you to be able to establish a business in these counties. We're looking at the business support environment. So counties need to be able to support small businesses. We will have programs that can be able to support both startups as well as SMEs. So this is just a snapshot of what we're talking about in terms of, you can see this is the county gross product. So this is just the economic activities that are within the county. Of course, you can see Nairobi leads, and you can see it's around 24.8% in terms of contribution to GDP, or just looking at the figures in terms of actual county gross product. Of course, there is a correlation between economic activities and SME population. So the people who actually are making business, who are doing business within the county, are contributing to that gross county product. So this is gives you an indication. Of course, these numbers are a bit dated. As you can see, this is a 2016 10-year survey. So possibly this has changed, but at least it gives us a base in terms of selection. Part of the recommendations I think we are giving as VIFA is we need to be able to update this data so it is more recent. We can't be still relying on 2016 data. But this is the rationale that we used in terms of selecting the 10 counties. Hopefully, as we move forward, then we can be able to onboard the rest of the 37 counties. So in terms of focus, the County Business Support Index is, of course, looking at the year 2023-2024, and we are looking at 2 businesses. So I mean, there are a lot of businesses that happen within counties. But again, as a pilot, we focused on what we're calling general trade businesses, as well as industrial plant. So this is, the language that you're seeing here is county language, in county documents. So don't ask me why I'm using such terms. So general business, of course, there is a breakdown in terms of what general trade business means within counties, as well as looking at industrial plant. So these are the 2 businesses that we focus on. So even as we go through the report, we are looking at it from these two lenses. So we are looking at to rank counties based on these parameters. So number 1 is the cost of license. So looking at how costly or how expensive is it for you to set up a general trade business or an industrial plant within the pilot counties. Have the counties aggregated their licenses? Are you paying 10 licenses? Are you paying 1? Again, just comparing across the different counties. On top of that is, are they automated? So you can do a single permit, SPP or trade license that is consolidated, but the process is still manual. Again, just asking and looking at which counties have been able to achieve that. And looking at infrastructure, and again, we have some parameters within infrastructure. And looking at water, electricity, roads, as well as digital support, either ICT hubs. That name can change from one county to the next. Looking lastly at business support services and incentives. Again, are the counties prioritizing business support? Do we have capacity building programs? Do we have trade funds? Do we have SME funds? I mean, what kind of programs are there within counties? And possibly, as we finish, the question is around our reflections is how can private sector or how can the different stakeholders support counties to ensure that some of these programs are successful? Of course, this is not new to you. SMEs play a critical role in terms of supporting social-economic development in the country. 33% of GDP, over 80% of new jobs created are within the MSME space. And of course, looking at the Kenya Kwanza government, which is the current administration, has prioritized MSMEs and startups in what they are calling the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, which is BITA. The manifesto, as well as the MTP4, is reflected in the current budget policy statement, 2024. So, for those of you who are not familiar with MTPs, Kenya has the broad vision of Vision 2030, which is broken down into 5 years strategic stints. So we've had MTP1 up to MTP3, which was in the previous government, the Jubilee government. So now the Kenya Kwanza government is focused on MTP4, which is of course, borrows from the Vision 2030 as well as from the manifesto. So, of course, we've seen, based on the current budget policy statement, an indication of support towards SMEs as well as support towards startups, but the language that is used there really is infrastructure, ICT, the G2ME hubs, the fiber optic backbone. That's the interpretation that we see in national government documentations. So again, the question someone would ask, what's the importance of this? The CBSI is important for several reasons. Number one is to measure progress. You can't measure progress if you don't have a baseline of sorts. So this particular report gives us a baseline of sorts to ensure that we're able to measure reports in a standardized format. So even as we are going through the different documentation, so we are going through the finance bills of counties. This is where counties list all businesses and all costs that are related, or licenses that are related to certain businesses. And we are looking at the annual development plans. So within counties, counties have a strategic plan called the County Integrated Development Plans. Currently, all of them are running between 2023 to 2027. So, and this is where they put strategies. And of course, on an annual basis, they have something called the Annual Development Plan, which is now actually your strategy. So the formats tend to be different. So it's very difficult for you to make comparison. So we hope using this particular framework, we can be able to standardize and ensure that every other person or any other stakeholder is able to understand and measure and see progress within the different counties. So that's one important reason for this particular index. Number two is benchmarking and competition. Again, I think we're discussing in the morning, is we need some behavior change in terms of supporting businesses within counties. So how do you do that? Of course, you can't pay salaries. You can't go and say, okay, now I'm increasing my salary by X%. We need to be able to use a tool, and we can possibly use this tool as a way in which you can be able to incentivize county governments to be able to improve their business climate in support to SMEs as well as startups. So this, again, can act as a tool for competition, can act as a tool for benchmarking. There are certain things that are working in certain counties. Other counties can be able to borrow some of these best practices. So we believe this particular index can be able to help out in that. Transparency and accountability. Again, my experience from working in the county government is that these processes, a lot of us, even as Kenyans, focus on budgets. So we wait for June, we want to hear budget reading, what has been allocated to this sector, etc. So what tends to happen is the processes that leads up to that budget, that budget announcement, tend to be understated. There are certain documentations that are produced, the budget policy statement, the fiscal strategy papers within counties. I mean, as stakeholders, we need to be able to give input at that level as we wait for the budget, so that the budget is a byproduct of stakeholder engagement, so that by the time allocation is done, by the time selection of a certain programs is done, I mean, we have, or the stakeholders have been able to give input. So again, just being able to bring transparency and accountability within these documentations. Guiding policy and investment. Again, data informs policy. As you've seen in the data that we're using around SMEs is 2016 data. So if you're using all the data to make decisions, then it becomes very difficult for you to get very accurate policy interventions taking place. So we hope that again this index can inform policy in terms of what areas do we need to improve as county governments. And of course, then as investors, as SMEs, as startups, then we can be able to make an investment decision of whether to set up in Mombasa, in Nairobi, in Bungoma, in Uasin Gishu, etc. So again, it is a tool that can not only help SMEs who are local investors, but even international investors. Yes, we say Nairobi, Kenya is a good place to invest, but businesses actually happen within counties. So giving investors visibility in terms of which counties are better places to be able to support you is something that we feel is important, and we anticipate this particular tool can work. So just to get the cat out of the box, this is, I'll give you the rank, the general rank, then probably I can be able to explain in detail how we were able to come up with this rank. So the first county that we saw, in terms of overall, in terms of the county that supports business, we've seen is Uasin Gishu County as number one. We have Nakuru, Kakamega, Bungoma, Kajiado, Kiambu, Mombasa, Kisumu, Kisii, as well as Nairobi. Nairobi and Kisii tied, but Kisii had a head-to-head, because they were able to win on other parameters. They sat above Nairobi, and possibly we can be able to explain the reason why we have a top and a bottom. Again, there is a methodology, there is a science that we've used to be able to bring these results. And again, maybe just as a clarification, when we say we are ranking, we are not ideally comparing, Nairobi has done 1,000 kilometers of roads and Kisumu has done 100. It's not that type of comparison. It's a question of going to your annual development plan and asking, you say that you're going to build 5 kilometers of roads. You've built 10 or you built 100. That's what we're using as a rank. So we say if you say 10 and you build 8, that's 80%. It doesn't matter how many kilometers you build, is what you said, did you do it? So that now you can, and if you're using your own document. So I think that needs to be clarified. So hopefully, based on these rankings, as we move forward, we can see movements as we go to the new financial year. So that the anticipation is over, we know there was an issue. If we had invited counties. I think Nairobi County is the one that honored us. A lot of them were afraid, they don't want to be put in bad light. But we said again, it's not castigating government, it's just saying we can be able to improve on our issues. Let me not touch on that. It's a bit detailed. It's the rationale in terms of what we did. I'll come back to that as we finish. So just looking at business license cost. This is anchored under the Constitution, Chapter 12 of the Constitution, Article 2024, which indicates that each county needs to prepare and adopt its own budget. And for you to be able to fund a budget, it means that you need to be able to raise funds. And they raise funds through finance bills, which is basically taxing businesses and that operate within certain counties. So that anchors cost. So in terms of general trade, based on finance bills, this is what it means. So when you hear general trade within a finance bill, this is the sub-businesses that operate within general trade. So even when you're applying for your SBP within a county, you'll either click on general trade, then there are parameters either in terms of space, etc. Then you get a fee. So these are the businesses that fall within within general trade. We have distributors, supermarkets, showrooms, salons, barber shop, car wash. I mean, the list is endless. We had to just for the sake of purpose of showing as an example. So this is what we're talking about. So focusing on general trade, I don't know if it's legible. So this is how we were able to come up with this cost, where you see in terms of graph. So what we are doing is, for general trade we rank. So you can see here, Nairobi County is the most expensive, with Bungoma County being the cheapest. On general trade SBP, so or trade license, whichever way you call it. So going to finance bills, if you are to open a finance bill, this is what you would see. If it's a general trade, you will see that they are broken down into sizes. So again, if you go to finance bill, that's what you would see. You'd see that is it a mega distributor? Is it a hyper distributor? Is it a large distributor or a salon? So this is what they use, and there's a cost to it. And different counties give different zones. So Nairobi has one zone, but if you go to Nakuru County, again the zones are named differently. Some would call them municipality, others they would call it zone A, zone B. I mean, it's them who know. Maybe it's based on location, maybe near a highway, etc., etc. So what we are doing is, for us to be able to get that cost, we will go to the finance bill, we'll go to general trade, we'll look at the cost in each zone and tabulate that and do an average. So we'll do an average of the mega, hyper, large. You get a number, then you do an average and get an average cost. So if you go to the finance bill, you will not get 92,000, but it's just an average to give us an indication of how expensive it is for you to set up this. So again, it's just a bit of maths. So of course you can now see the reason why someone maybe like, for example, Nairobi County is the most expensive. And we're not saying expensive is bad. It is just what it is. I mean, it's for you to judge, to say it could be expensive, but there's value. I mean, so, but these are the numbers that we see. So this is what we are doing in terms of getting an average cost. Again, this is specifically for finance bills 2023-2024. Remember, every year counties come up with new finance bills in terms of how much they would use to charge. So again, the question here would be, from a county perspective, is are we offering value? As an investor, I would go for Bungoma. Because I mean, for me to set up my biashara, maybe they're not customers, but at least from a cost perspective, I mean, I would possibly go to Bungoma. Or if I have a distribution company, I would strategically place them in counties that are not as expensive, especially if you're distributing. So there's no need of me maybe paying 92,000 on average. I would rather maybe map out counties where the fees are not as expensive, again, for me to be competitive. Again, it's for an investor or any stakeholder to decide what works for them. So, but that's the reality. So in terms of ranking, we can see again Bungoma is ranks number 1 in terms of cost. Again, this can change. What we see also from county governments, these numbers keep on changing year on year on. This year it could be that maybe the county is trying to increase its budget by X, then possibly they will go to the finance bill and add cost. So these numbers, we hope that over years we can be able to we can be able to see the trend, and possibly county governments can be able to bring predictability in terms of costing. So instead of moving from 1,000 to 10,000, maybe increase it at a certain rate, maybe 10% either, or inflation, etc. So that it's easier for a business person to be able to predict the cost environment within counties. So of course you have Bungoma, Uasin Gishu, Kakamega, up to Mombasa. So this contributes to the overall ranking. Yeah, so let's assume Bungoma here gets 90%, Uasin Gishu gets 80%, and maybe possibly Nairobi gets 10%. So the overall rank is based on the specific ranks that you get. So that's general trade. Under industry, this is what it means within finance bills. So it's an industrial plant, it's a workshop, it's a repair contract, or it's a scrap metal dealer. Again, generally this is what it means. So others would add. So the list becomes endless. If, say for example, someone is selling eggs, it's not listed on general trade, but ideally it falls under. I mean, Kenyans come up with new businesses each and every other day. So, but this is generally what we are looking at. So this is possibly, you want to set up an industrial plant, you want to set up a factory, etc. Again, the same issue plays. You can see again, Nairobi is expensive. And again, expensive doesn't mean it's bad. But again, the same formula, we go to the finance bill, we look at the size, do an average, and bring the average, and of course, we get this. So again, different counties have different zones. We still are not very sure the rationale around zones. It makes it very complicated for small businesses, for you to know, especially for zones that are saying zone A, zone B, zone C. I mean, what does that mean? At least a municipality, a town, maybe it's based on maybe nearness to commercial activities, so it is assumed that we pay a fair share in terms of license. But again, I think one of the lessons that probably maybe counties need to learn is to be able to have, the way we have mega, hyper, and large in terms of business sizes, to have very similar zones so that we know what a zone means. Yeah, so, I mean, if you go to Nakuru, they have 7 zones. If you go to Kisumu, maybe there are 3, Nairobi there is none. I mean, as an investor, you need to be able to know what does a zone mean? What does hyper mean? What does, even up to now, we don't understand what mega means. I mean, it's just there in the financing. Again, so these are the costs that we see in terms of setting up shop in different counties. Again, the question is, why is there disparity? I mean, if setting up a factory in Nairobi is 100,000, you go to Kiambu is 10,000. I mean, what's the rationale? You go to other counties 50K. So we don't have, those, you can see those graphs jumping high as it goes. So I mean, there is something that we need to do as a country in terms of ensuring that there is some standardization of sorts. So if we say mega is, the cost ideally should, even if it's a band, I mean, again, bring some predictability around it. So again, in terms of ranking, Kiambu here comes number 1. Again, you see, for different parameters, for different licenses, different counties are performing differently. So here we can see Kiambu, Kakamega, Uasin Gishu, we have Kisumu and Nairobi being the most expensive. So that's the second parameter. Again, we were giving them weights. So on the other one, we had a different county meaning. This one is different. So again, different weights, and it again contributes to the overall rank. So the next issue we're looking out for was again just finding out if the SPPs or the trade licenses are consolidated or not. It's very difficult for you as a business to, you go pay SPP, then you're told you've not paid for fire. You've not paid for public health. You go, I mean, people are coming to harass you. So we feel, and again, of course, this is the general feeling within the ecosystem, is that you need to be able to unify businesses so that you get a UAP. So you're not paying 3, 4, 5 different licenses. So again, we just, looking at the finance bill, you can tell. So under general trade, it mentions 1 trade license. If it mentions 1 trade license, and there is no other, license in terms of fire, public health, then that is what we're calling a unified business permit. So a unified business license is under the finance bill, we have 1 amount. So if it's sort of that is set up a shop, you'll go and pay 1 fee. That includes fire, public health, or whatever other license that is there within the county. So you can see a majority of counties have that, with the exception of Kiambu. The second thing we are looking out for is automation. So even if you have unified. Is it an automated process? Again, it has an implication on efficiency in terms of supporting businesses. Again, a majority, with the exception of Kisii, Kajiado, Kakamega, as well as Kiambu, have not automated. And by automation is a simple check. Go online, and if you go to the county site, do you have an automated process of filing your return? So this is a good example of Kisumu and Nairobi. I think again this was a test. So even if you have to go online now, you go test. Maybe no pun intended. They scanned the document, then they put it on your site, on the site. So download, fill it, then come and lodge it. I mean, that was, so to them that's digital. I mean, it was interesting. So I mean, we need an automated process end to end that you can file and you can be able to pay. So again, this is something that can be learned across all the different counties. So those, that's that in terms of cost. So in terms of cost, we looked at single business permit, looking at trade as well as industry, and we've been able to see which counties have done well. We've seen counties that have been able to automate and have been able to consolidate their business licenses. So the document that primarily we're using is the finance bill for that, because this is a list of costs and the types of businesses that are there. So the second document that we were looking out for was the annual development plan. Again, like I said in my opening statements, the annual development plan feeds from the county integrated development plan, which is just a breakdown of what the county intends to do in the next 5 years. So again, there are weaknesses around the same. Again, this is still anchored under the PFM Act 2012, where it prescribes how counties need to have the format that they need to be able to use to be able to indicate their program. So as you can see, putting sector priorities, the programs to be delivered, goods and services provided, measurable indicators where feasible, and this is where a lot of, for example, Nairobi and Kisii County were not able to do it. So you have to have measurable indicators. So you don't just say we want to do X. You need to be able to say we want to do X. This is the program. These are the KPIs. These are the, if it's roads, we need to do 1,000 kilometers of roads. Then next year you need to report and say out of the 1,000 that we set, you were able to do 500. So again, with the exception of I think Mombasa, Kisii, and Nairobi, that was not adhered. Again, this is just the listing in terms of the structure of the ADP. So these are the two parameters. Again, moving forward, we can be able to add parameters again based on the feedback that we receive. So we wanted to choose parameters that resonate with small businesses and startups. So we're not looking at all. Of course, if you look at infrastructure, there are other infrastructure programs that are there within county governments. So we're looking at roads, water, electricity, and incubation hub. Again, incubation hub, it's semantics. It could come as an ICT hub, it could come as a different name, but ideally it's a support space or program for both startups as well as SMEs. Again, there is a correlation between infrastructure and business thriving within a county. So that's our hypothesis. Around business support and there's incentives, again, we are looking at an SME fund. Trade fund, again, the name changes from one county to the next. Market in terms of, is the county government actively looking or developing markets for SMEs as well as startups within the county, as well as capacity building. Again, we can be able to increase the sub-parameters as we deem fit. Again, it's just a question of digging through the annual development plans to see if those are happening. Again, the comparison here is not from county to county, is what have you promised to do within your ADP. So if it's water, again, water manifests differently within different counties. Some people are saying you want to build water plants. In Nairobi, you don't build water plants. Maybe it's a question of increasing efficiency, reducing leakage, etc. So again, we were just looking at your ADP and asking ourselves, have you achieved what you said? Electricity, a lot of them, I think electricity is a national government function, so a lot of them were doing streetlights, so a number of streetlights within the county government. SME fund, again, is a major feature. A lot of them are saying they've set up, they've allocated the budget, but it's not operational. So, I mean, questions around the same. Is it, and what model are you using? I think we saw Tana River, their NPL was so high, they closed it. I think Kisii County, I mean, there is issues around the types of fund and how, and the model that are adopted. So again, stakeholders can be able to help county governments to be able to structure these funds in a manner that can be able to support SMEs. Of course, we have capacity building programs. Again, some of them had very low targets to train 5. Then they do 10. Yes, it's 100%, but the target is low. Again, we were not addressing that. Our issue was not to ask ourselves if you set up a low target, was just, if you say 5, did you achieve 5? So again, we need to have conversations around threshold. I think Elvis, you're talking about, I think you trained, I think 4,000 within 4 months. I mean, you can't have low. If people can, if SBS can be able to train 4,000 within 4 months, I mean, you can't train 10. We need to have a conversation. But anyway, we gave them 100%, just FYI. I mean, that's what they chose. So in terms of, I'll probably explain the numbers. So in terms of, so we are looking at different counties, from county number 1 up to county number 10. So if you are looking at Uasin Gishu County, 83% is exactly that. They say within the KPIs, so they have programs, they have sub-programs, and they have KPIs. Say within water, we want to do 1, 2, 3, and I'll explain that within the notes. So within the KPIs, we are doing averages. So let's say, for example, you say it's water, and as a program, we have underwater, we want to do ponds, we want to do poles, whatever you want to do. And within that, you put KPIs and say we want to do 10 water pumps. And you say we are able to achieve 5. 5 out of 10 is 50%. So that's what we're doing. So then we run the average across all the KPIs. Again, so that we get that solid number. So it basically says that this county is able to put up a program, allocate resources, and actually achieve it. And that's the whole spirit or the whole idea around being able to measure. So we're not. So we are comparing. You're competing against yourself, ideally in terms of project execution. So we can see, of course, in terms of Uasin Gishu is able to do 83%, 160%. So when you see 160%, it means that they targeted maybe 1,000 kilometers, they did 1,500 through development partners, etc. So that's what you see. So again, we did a county average. So you can see now in terms of infrastructure, Uasin Gishu is doing 76%. You're getting Kajiado 63%. Kisii and Mombasa did not. The way when you see 0, it's not that they had an ADP, but they did not do a comparison. So what we're saying moving forward is, and this is anchored within the PFM Act, you need to be able to give us an indication of what you want to achieve, what you set to achieve, and what you achieve. I mean, you need to be able to report that. So these counties, Mombasa, Kisii, as well as, I think Nairobi is only one sector that did the comparison, the roads and works. So again, and we indicated that in our notes that, and if you download the ADP, you'd actually see that that comparison was not done. So we're not calling them, this is a public document, we're not calling them and telling them, hey, guys, you need to put your indicators from the ADP. I mean, because it's a public document and it's already out there, we just put them at 0. Possibly as we move towards this financial year, 2023-2024, then possibly that can change. So what we're doing is we're just taking notes. So maybe just as a guide. So looking at what averages within Kisumu is, we're looking at a sub-program. So if you go to the ADP, you will see that they have a program, they have a sub-program. Water production efficiency, distance to accessing safe water. Again, it manifests differently from one county to the next. Number of boreholes, rehabilitated, etc. So you can see here, for instance, they are saying, in terms of boreholes rehabilitated, they did 25 out of 20. So they set out to do 20, they did 25. So that means that maybe that's 105%. Number of boreholes drilled, 12 out of 26. So you can see they're not able to achieve 100%, which is fine, but again, you can be able to give an average. And possibly the question is outside of lack of budget. So a lot of them, if you see on the notes, they will say, no budget, no budget, no budget. I mean, we need to be able to report outside of no budget. I mean, what happened? Something so that someone can make a decision. It can't be that everything is no budget. If it's no budget, then don't allocate. I mean, do other stuff if it's not relevant. So number of springs protected. Again, this might not feature in Nairobi in terms of springs, but it manifests within the county. So that's what we mean. So we were doing averages of the KPIs. So the specific KPIs that we're talking about in terms of we are looking at balls drilled, springs. I think there's a dam that wasn't done. Rainwater storage. They targeted 1,400 meters. They achieved 200. Water storage capacity. I mean, that's what we're looking out for, and possibly as we share the report, you can be able to look into that. What we also found interesting for Kisumu County was that there's a specific program around renewable energy and sustainable development, which we found was unique to Kisumu County. So I think these are, again, trends, and they did achieve, of course they indicated, and this is just a screenshot of an ADP. So we have the sub-program, so maybe for example this is renewable energy as a main program. We have the sub-program which they have the key outputs. So what we're measuring were the key indicators. So we can see this is planned, this is achieved, and they have notes. So this is what we are looking. So what we are doing is, if you planned, say for example, but you can see a lot of them are not achieved. So it's a good program to focus on around renewable energy, solar kits. I mean, we found that to be interesting. But again, they did achieve. I think this is something that can be learned across, because climate change and issues around sustainability is a cross-cutting issue. So I think maybe Kisumu County has picked it up. It's something that maybe other counties can be able to pick it up and maybe start developing programs around the same. But I think more importantly is collaboration around this, because when you're talking about climate change, it's not a specific county issue. You will be able to get more impact if you collaborated as regional economic blocks within counties. So Kiambu County, again, the same notes around the same. You would notice that the KPIs change. So it's the same program, water, sub-programs maybe would change. But again, you can see here is number of pipelines, connection, mapped, etc. Again, focusing on NDP 2023-2024. Uasin Gishu the same. There's nothing new, but again, it's just to note that. So in terms of infrastructure, we noted that a few of them had hubs. Some didn't have. So some of them would, they would call it an SME hub. Some would call it an ICT hub. Again, what's the correlation between this and the G2 hubs that national government is doing? Is there a way in which different stakeholders can plug to make those hubs operational? So you hear maybe a certain county has 10 hubs. Who's running them? We know government has not know how to run hubs. Is there a way in which different stakeholders who are doing different programs can be able to plug into these particular programs? Again, Mombasa did provide, as you've seen the way the ADP is structured, both Mombasa, Kisii, and Nairobi did provide a comparison of the KPIs. So they said we achieved 100%. We were not taking that. We wanted to see actual numbers in terms of roads. How many did you say you want to achieve? How many did you achieve? We're not taking 100%. Like, it's not we wanted to see the numbers ourselves. So Nakuru was also very interesting in terms of setting up a Nakuru Innovation Hub, termed Digital Center as a sub-program, and they were able to achieve 2 out of 5. I think they wanted to set up 5 hubs. They did achieve. They were able to achieve 2 out of 5. They had set out to do an installation of public Wi-Fi, and they were not able to achieve that. Again, this fed to the overall performance. Kakamega, nothing interesting. Again, we were just giving details so that you can see the rationale for the average, so that you just don't see a number averaging 80% without knowing what happens. So what you can do is, if you want to verify, you can download the APP for, say for example, Kakamega, go to the specific programs, and you probably will see those numbers running. That's what we use. Again, we have the data that we have in the office that you can just be able to share for your own understanding. So those are notes. Again, we just felt that it would be interesting to put out notes. So the last, I think, parameter is business support services and the incentives that the county governments have. Again, a similar trend, looking at market, capacity building program, SME funds as the 3 main incentives. We did look at if the county has an investment, because a lot we're seeing through, I think, Ken Invest, and I think even the last couple of years, we've seen counties develop investment profiles for the county. So these are we are setting up land, we are setting up this to be able to support investors. So we didn't go to that degree. If you feel that it is important, again, it's something that we can be able to incorporate. Again, around markets, you can see Uasin Gishu doing well in terms of, again, saying that we want to set up different markets. So market is a program, maybe just for clarification. So we, as a program, as a market program, either they have marketing programs for the SMEs, or they're setting up physical markets. So again, if you look at the sub-programs, you'll be able to see that. Again, we can see Uasin Gishu surprisingly doing very well. Even for us, we're surprised. I think in our mind, we assume that either Mombasa or Kisumu or Nairobi will perform very well. I mean, we had to counter-check, I think, 3-4 times just to make sure that it's the truth. So surprisingly, Uasin Gishu really is doing very well in terms of actually achieving its targets. So we can see those averages. Again, the counties that were not able to give that data, we gave them a 0. Again, because it's just, it is what it is. So Kisumu has what we are calling a trade fund, but it wasn't funded. So under ADP, the question is, what's the point? Why would you put something into a strategic plan, your CADP, then you put it in your ADP, then it's not funded? Some of them would be, it's not operationalized. Again, the question here was, what lesson can we learn around funds? Is the best model for counties to disburse the funds? Is working with banks the best model? Is working with fintech the best model? I mean, what model can counties adopt? And I hope moving forward, that's a conversation that possibly can be able to have with both county governments as well as COG. So again, we were able to share the report with the COG for their own processes and intervention. We had invited them, but they were able to send their apologies. So it's interesting that each and every county has some sort of a fund. Hopefully, then we can be able to talk about a startup fund. So I mean, that's even complicated, but I mean, let's start with SME or trade fund. Sort that out. Then let's talk about startup funds. So again, as you can see, markets, we have sub-program, market construction, market rehabilitation, market abolition, border shapes, trade fairs, etc. So when you see market, it's not, it is there, it's a program, and we have sub-programs within markets. Again, the market manifests differently depending on the county. So you can see there is border. If you go to Mombasa, then probably you can get a shape that is different. So Kisumu County indicated plan to develop a comprehensive data bank, but they were not able to do it. Again, that's also something that is very critical. Data is important. How do you make decisions on SMEs that you don't know about? You don't know how many they are, you don't know which sector they're investing in. So I mean, that's something, and I think Kajiado County, one of the counties has been able to do that. So again, that's a lesson that can be learned across all counties. Can we have an updated database of SMEs that operate within the county governments? Let me not go back to, again, these are notes that you can read in your own time. So for me, I think the idea was to give you the gist. As you can see also, Kakamega has an SME fund. So what happened is, if you set up a fund and you don't fund it, will give you a 0. Yeah, so I mean, you have to do something. We can't just, intention cannot, you can't award intention, you have to award action. Or award an outcome of sorts. So again, Kajiado County has established a loan facility for SMEs, but either is not operational or is operational but has not been. They have not disbursed money around the same. So again, there is a semblance, we see funds. So what we are trying to pick in terms of lessons is what are the common issues that the counties are prioritizing. So fund is there, but what we see is there is a lack of capacity or a lack, of prioritization of funds. So we know funds are okay, but I think counties need help or support in terms of establishing right models around funds and being able to disperse those. So it's important to note that Kajiado also achieved what we are calling an SME digitized database. So we are yet to verify this. So again, this is based on the reports on the ADP. So don't hang us by saying, you say they have, show us. Means for us to be able to go on the ground and verify that it has happened. But at least from a strategic document perspective, they've said they've been able to achieve. And we think this is something that, again, can be learned across the different counties. Bungoma County also has an SME fund. Again, what I think there's an idea of putting something, there's an idea, but there's either a lack of capacity or a lack of resources. But we just need to be able to probe that and see exactly what that means. So again, we'll share the report. Possibly you can be able to see the other details that are there. So lastly is recommendations. So again, after going through all this, so what's the deal? I mean, what do we want to achieve? Again, like I said, as we started off, as I started my opening submissions, it is just an evaluation tool. I mean, to allow counties to be able to do better in terms of supporting small businesses as well as startups. So we need a strengthening of data collection and management. I mean, we need to be able to agree as county governments to say, in terms of ADP, we all adhere to this format. So that it's easier for us or people who are analyzing to be able to analyze. I mean, it took us a long time because formats are different. So you have to have your own format standard, then start feeding the data inside. So if we can be able to support county governments in terms of standardization of data, being able to help in terms of reporting so that it's easier to compare, that's something that we look forward to. Data management systems, again, we can't just be feeding manually, and folks from the county can attest to this. I was in the county for 1 year. I mean, you'll get a physical memo with a physical form that you have to physically write. And for those of us who write like doctors, I mean, inakuwa ni shida vipi kusoma. But again, is there a way in which you can be able to deploy technology within county governments to be able to collect this data? So that it's just program officers or directors just feeding into a system so that it's easier for us to be able to get access to this data. Again, different stakeholders can be able to support around the same. Can we be able to build capacity within county governments around data collection so that they take it seriously? I remember a member would come, we are preparing the ADP, guys, move. I mean, you don't even have the time. Sometimes it's not even a question of capacity, it's just you don't have the time. So what support structures can we be able to have or support to ensure that this data is collected and if need be, can we be able to build capacity of the people who are charged with data collection? Enhancing reporting quality and content, again, we could see that different counties, their ADP, like Nakuru County, does a superb job in terms of their ADPs and their documents. I mean, it's easy to get it online, you download it, even if they have 10 zones, I mean, you can see the logic. The counties that you look at the document, one is scanned. I mean, you know, when you scan a document, you can't extract it. So we have to manually type. I mean, if you know that the stakeholders or people are going to use that data, then put it in a format that it's easier for them to mine it and analyze. So if you get a scanned document, I mean, scanned with a stamp, I mean, it becomes difficult. So again, report quality and content, can we focus on outcomes rather than processes? So what you see is someone wants to tick a box, they say we are putting a trade fund. So it's ticking a box, but you're not actually, I think you don't intend to achieve it. So can we focus on outcomes so that we only award or incentivize people who are achieving outcomes rather than just going through a process of putting up a document. In terms of narrative, can you be able to describe outside of there is no funds as the only impediment that made you not achieve something? I mean, can you be able to have narratives around what are the challenges, what are the successes, so that people can be able to pick and it's easier for us to be able to get cross-learning across different counties. Can we get this data disaggregated? And this goes back to automation. Can you be able to mine that data to see, okay, now how many SMEs are women? What are the turnovers? I mean, we can be able to play around with the data. Again, this has to be tied with some sort of automation and make the reports accessible. I mean, we have to call people for us to get a public document. Hey, do you have the ADP for this county? Send me on WhatsApp. I mean, you should be able to go to a county website, under downloads or whatever resources, get any document and download. So again, some counties, especially for those who are copy-pasting and just scanning and putting there, I mean, it's a quick win. I mean, you just need to do, how much does it cost you to do a website? I mean, accessing this data is not easy, especially finance bills. Even finance bills, you don't get them. I mean, you get an older version, you get a bill, not an act. I mean, I mean, there has to be a way in which county governments display and make these documents readily available. Improving communication and engagement. Again, even this conversation is a difficult conversation, similar to this budget policy statement. Government sometimes does some good work, but it's not communicated well. So can county governments have a clear-cut way in which they're able to engage with their stakeholders, and not just doing public participation? You know, public participation is, and they can quote even the Constitution, it's under the Constitution of Kenya to do public participation. But what you do, you curate stakeholders, so that the people will just say yes, 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 yes. I mean, sometimes you need to be able to engage stakeholders at the start, so that you're not just allocating money for the sake of allocating. You have the right program, it's well allocated, and you have stakeholders that can be able to support you. And even part of the things that, part of the programs that we were doing at the county was just actively engaging stakeholders. It doesn't have to be a big event. I mean, it could be just come have coffee, let's discuss this particular program. So county governments need to work with SMEs directly, or their associations within the counties, to be able to get feedback. So as you start, like for example, this current ADP, how many people have read it? 2023, 2024. How many people have downloaded? Because it's a public document, it's already there. The county fiscal strategy paper is being written currently. How many people have engaged with that process and have seen these are the programs that are there? How many people have even looked at the budget policy statement by national government? I remember even calling a virtual meeting, guys were like, "Aye, what is that? I mean, let's wait for the budget." I mean, so there has to, the incentive is on county governments and national governments to communicate in a manner that is easy for us to understand. So, I mean, just that is something that has to happen. Disseminate reports widely. Don't just place it on the website and that's it. I mean, you need to say that this particular document is ready for publication, or even announcements of sorts. I mean, you can either use social media, etc., so that people can understand and know that a particular document is out. Use visualization. People don't like reading. Generally, you give Kenyans, you give a Kenyan a document that is more than 10 pages, they sleep. So I mean, we need to be able to have a way in which even these hard bills, these ADPs, are broken down in a manner that Noah's mom can be able to understand and say, hey, when the ADP is there, government is saying they're going to build 10 markets. Ah, that's interesting. Where is it going to be located? I mean, they can be able to engage with that process. If you don't visualize, if you don't communicate, if you don't do anything, and just give a hard document that you look at schedules, it becomes very difficult. And the reason why there is even corruption within payment of licenses is because those documents are hard. For us even to give you that average, you have to look at a 200-page document. They list fire, same business. You go under public health. I mean, you have to go through 200 pages to be able to know you're going to pay 10 Gs. I mean, there has to be effort in terms of yes, we know they are constitutional documents, but you can be able to have abridged versions that are easier for other folks to be able to understand. Of course, there are recommendations could be many, but again, we just try to summarize. I think in terms of blocks is adoption of technology. County governments need to adopt technology in terms of data collection, etc. There has to be benchmarking with other counties. We see fantastic stuff happening in Mombasa, something happening in Kisumu. But Nairobi has no idea. Even as Nairobi County is developing the Biashara Fund currently, say for example, I mean, the question was, why are you reinventing the wheel? We have Kisii, we have Laikipia that did with KCB. I mean, there are Mombasa. I mean, there are so many counties that did a fund of sorts. Can you just be able to sit with them and learn instead of trying to crack your head to restart? I mean, it was frustrating. I can't understand. So there has to be a way in which either at the COG or at the Deputy President Office, which coordinates government, or some framework of sorts, to ensure that, I mean, there's cross-running and there's benchmarking across counties. You don't have to go to Singapore to benchmark. I mean, if Mombasa is doing something nice, just take a flight to Mombasa or take a bus to Mombasa. You don't have to go to India. I mean, those lessons are already here. Strengthen internal audits and oversight, again, just to ensure that, because what we see here is we are only taking and we are assuming that what is on the ADP is correct. We didn't go to verify and say you said 1,000 roads, you did 500. Did you do the actual 500 roads? So there has to be an oversight mechanism that goes beyond us, where who can be able to go verify within county governments that happens. I think climate change and sustainability, I think I mentioned that harmonizing efforts around regional economic blocks. Climate change is a big issue. I think it's something that county governments can be able to not only do it as a county, but the impact possibly would be either as a regional economic blocks or at national government. CES is a big issue, and I think this CES has been mentioned for the last 10 years. I mean, you see reports around CES. I mean, it's illegal. I mean, you can call it whatever. So we need to find a way in which a lasting solution around CES. Can we be able to automate CES and have it as a formula? Stuff from Mombasa and you're bringing them to Nairobi. Every county you're paying CES. Why can't you pay at source? Then the counties sort themselves in terms of how they share that. You can put it in your finance bills, whatever. I mean, those are processes. But at least from a user perspective, can we be able to pay once, move? No one is going to stop you. So you just get into your lorry and you move. That's something that possibly needs to be addressed. Again, looking at an SME bank, even from a national perspective, we still quote KNBS MSME report 2016. We still quote it. I mean, we need to be able to get an updated database. Either, even if it's at county level, so that we can be able to aggregate, or at national level. But we need to be able to get that, because that informs policy, it informs programs. If you go to counties right now, if you are to tell them, do you know the number of businesses that are there? They don't. As long as you pay your trade license, I mean, you can go. That data is not collected or automated in any way, or for what. Market-driven SME fund. Again, you can have a fund, but it has to be market-driven. County governments don't do business. Generally, governments don't do business. So we need to be able to support county governments around establishing funds that are private sector driven. I mean, there are cases around the same that, and of course, I think the 2 weeks ago, Tana River indicated that they are closing their fund because of non-performing loans. Over 90% of people are not paying their loans. The question is, even if you talk to Laikipia County, they succeeded, but they also, even for them, they were saying if you have to do version 2, it will not be with banks. Yeah, so banks, the business model is still different. I mean, they are still risk averse. I mean, look for other alternatives, and we've seen fintechs being able to do exactly that. Again, market-driven startup program. Startup is just a complicated issue. We are still talking at SMEs. We even refrain from going into startups. I mean, there has to be private sector or outside of government support to developing, designing programs around startups, whether it's a fund, whether it's capacity building, etc. And again, the experience is there from the private sector over 10 years, over 20 years that can be able to support government around that. So without further ado, thank you very much. I'm sure I could see some of you sleeping. I wanted to point you, but tell you so but thank you for bearing with me. And again, we'll share the report. Again, we can be able to have conversations around expanding counties, around expanding the parameters, and seeing how we can be able to have practical programs that allows stakeholders to go to interact with county governments in an amicable manner.
But anyway, my name is Sheena Rakandalia. I'm the country director for the UK Kenya Tech Hub. So I work for the British government here in Kenya. But I'm a Kenyan, so I wear lots of other hats. I sit on the board of the Kenya National Innovation Agency. Now this is a very exciting agency, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a board member, but we talk about Kenya National Innovation, this is what we need. It's an amazing agency, there's a lot planned. I think many of you have heard of Kenya Innovation Week, so there's a lot of stuff that we do there. I'm also part of the National Chamber of Commerce, recently joined for the Resource and Mobilization Board. Anybody that knows me knows two things. I truly believe that startups and SMEs are the two hands for Kenya, right? Startups and SMEs contribute to GDP, contribute to jobs, and that's what kind of Kenya needs to move ahead. I truly believe entrepreneurs can solve development challenges, and you know what? Make money while doing it. Nothing wrong with making money. Make money. Make money, grow your business, hire more people, solve these challenges of food security using innovation, etc. You can do it. And just to get a feel for the room, how many are kind of businesses here? SMEs, MSMEs, startups? How many of you are like businesses, actual businesses, SMEs, startups, hubs? Okay, nice. How many of you are hubs? or support providers? I think you might fall into two.
Both.
Both, yeah. Yeah. Any funds here? Any people with the money? Investors? No? Yeah, great. Academia, research, what's that? Yeah. Who else have I missed? Media, maybe? Is it media that's here? Okay, yeah. Okay, so we've got a good mix of people. So, as I keep saying, startups, SMEs, heart of Kenya's development challenges. But what can we do to help startups and SMEs? And the way I see it is there's 5 things, and I always talk about these 5 things. Number 1, capital, money. We've talked about it. We all need money. But guess what? There is money. This is the thing. There actually is money, but sometimes we don't know how to go about getting it. So, for example, I'll tell you of a couple of programs that we have. One is around angel investing. Who's heard of angel investing? So, angel investing, it previously used to be rich people invest in money, they invest in businesses. Now, that is not the definition for Kenya. How many are part of a chama? How many have actually put money to a business? Your friend's business, your relative's restaurant, you're all angel investors. Okay? Angel investors are people who put some money in another business with the hope that that business will do well and they'll get their money. Now, if you're like me and it's your family business or your families or your friends, you might not get that money back, but you hope at least one of them will return your money. But that's a different story. So that's one. Number 2, there's a lot of money in terms of angel, equity, debt, and we can go into that, but that's the one challenge for businesses, right? We need money. There's ways of getting money. After we have money, or even before we have the money, what else do we need? Talent. We need people. We need good people, right? Again, how do you get good people? And this is where, again, there are lots of different programs. There's one called Sasa Kazi that I always talk about. Did you know, we talked about all of this stuff in county, and we're actually working with a couple of counties. For 20,000 shillings a month, you could get a young techie from Eldoret, Nakuru, Kisumu to digitize, to run a social digital marketing campaign, to build your website for 20,000 shillings a month. Good people. I remember when I was telling my husband this about this program we were running. He's like, no, I don't need IT, He hired 2. He came back, not hired, it's just a 3-month placement. He's hired them, and he came back to me and said, wow, talent like this exists in Kenya. And I'll give you an example. How many of you do like petty cash in your where people, annual leave forms? How many of you have to sign manual annual leave forms? This young guy went up to my husband and said, this annual leave form, this is a bit irritating, we need to digitize. My husband's like, this guy's gonna ask me for another course, another system. So he's like, okay, what? He goes, can I build it for you? This is the talent we have in Kenya. So we need to nurture that talent. It's there, it's affordable, it's good. Now 3rd, the most important. Everybody talks about money as being the most important. Do you know what's more important? And Victor touched on this. Markets. Stop looking for funds, look for customers. When people buy your services, when people buy your products, those investors will follow because everybody wants to make money. Those banks will lend to you. Those fintechs will lend to you. So I think a lot of the time we're so focused on a fund and getting money that we forget. Find customers. And your customers don't just have to be Kenya. Africa, huge. Africa Free Trade Agreement, huge. So I think one of my asks and one of the conversations that I have with government that I work with quite closely is create markets. And by markets, as Victor said, yes, it could be the markets you sit and people can go and buy and sell. But sell Kenya, sell Kenya. Sell our youth, sell our talent, sell our services, sell our products. Like I'll tell you something, my mom does this, which is really embarrassing, she's down right now. And if anybody ever opened her bag in the airport, I think we'd be in a lot of trouble. She takes avocados, mangoes in her bag because she's just like, you don't get this there. This is the kind of stuff, and I know we do a little bit, but imagine Kenyan guacamole, instead of just selling avocados, sold in Sainsbury's, Tesco's, Walmart, all over the world. Right? We just need to think like that because we have it amazing. I can give you another example. Kale. Who's heard of kale? Kale is a superfood. You try and buy it, go and try and buy it anywhere globally. Ridiculous. It's a superfood, it's a health food. Guess what is the same family as kale? Sukuma. Amaranth, superfood. Guess what amaranth is? Terere in Kenya. Poor man's food. Like my nanny is just like, really terere? And I'm just like, it's amaranth, it's a high protein, but again, we need to market ourselves better. What's the other one? Regulation. We talked about it. Regulation is super important. I mean, CES, and I think, Victor, what you've done with this is a really good step, but there's more around regulation that we can do. At the moment, the ICT, for example, the Ministry of ICT, we're working with them on a task force around innovation, jobs, business development. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I think it goes back down to let's try and be involved in policy. It's hard work, we have day jobs, we don't want to do it. So it's on to the government to make it easier, right? Create policy labs, make it fun. But it's also up to us. Like, I've been sending things to people, come and join, comment on this, and we don't do it. We don't have time, right? Like, it is, okay, so I'm an ex-lawyer by profession, so speed reading is something that I do. I actually enjoy. I'm one of those people that reads the reports and summarizes them and sends them. So I get it, most people can't do that. But if we don't participate and then we go and blame the government, that's on us. So yes, the government has a role, but so do we. Especially those of us who are business associations, etc. We really need to do this. And finally, I think, one of the things I talk about is information asymmetry. There's actually a lot of information. So for example, what Victor did is nothing secret, right? But he took the time and effort to go through those irritating patterns. They're irritating. Even as an ex-lawyer, those bills. And I think that conversation around standardization, zones, that needs to be had. But the point is that information is out there. It's just the people who need that information don't have it, right? So I think there's a big conversation around information asymmetry, and it's not just about that kind of data. Do you know the amount of funding programs out there? Do you know the amount of free scholarships out there? I'm quite big on LinkedIn, and every day, and before I started, I said I'll never ignore somebody's message on LinkedIn. Do you know what I do now? I get constant messages on LinkedIn about people looking for jobs, people looking for scholarships, people looking for funds. So I started doing these posts where I'll be like, here are the scholarships available, here are the jobs available, here are this available. But that information is out there. How do we make it so that people get it? So I'll give you an example. Somebody called Michael Onyango, he set up something called 4BM, the Forgotten Bottom Millions. And do you know how it started? He just had he's in a WhatsApp group. He said, guys, what is the majority of people in a WhatsApp group? I think at the time it was like 100. Go and form a WhatsApp group. Whenever I have any opportunities, I'll join your WhatsApp group and I'll share it. Now, that has become, I think, 200 WhatsApp groups, over 300 people, and there's a whole admin group that all they do is share free verified opportunities. There are kids who have been jobless in some village somewhere who are now working in Europe. So a lot of it is also information asymmetry. And finally, the last thing I'm going to say, right, is, and this comes up, is mindset. How many of us are in business why are we in business? How many people are in business? A lot of the times it's because I couldn't find a job, especially to young people. Some of the times it's, I'm a good baker, so I'm going to let me start my business, and then, I'm so good at this, I'll make lots of money. But the problem is, lots of businesses fail. Why do these businesses fail? Because we're too busy working in businesses instead of working on our business. So I think before we speak to entrepreneurs and stuff, we should say, why are you starting a business? Where do I see myself in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? What is my personal goal? Is it that I want to be working 150 hours a week? Do I want to be working virtually? Do I want to be working 5 hours? Do I want to earn 1 million shillings, 10 million shillings, 100 million shillings? And then I'll be like, okay, so if I want to do this, what do I need to get there? And that's what your business should be, the vehicle to help you get there. And if your business cannot help you achieve that personal aim, it's time to rethink your business. Because what you then do is you'll go on your business and then you'll fail. And then you'll start another one and then you'll fail. And then you start another one and then you fail. Now this is a comment to us on this table, usually not to a younger audience, because actually I think in this country, as we all know, right, we have so many youth. Most of our generation, what's the statistic? 75% of people are under, our median age is 19, 75% of people are under 30. It cannot be up to the young people to create their own jobs. That's ridiculous. That is not, when I think about mine, the businesses that have failed, that I've started, you need older people with more experience to start those businesses to create jobs for those young people, to get the experience, who can then go and create jobs. Right now we have this fetishness. Oh, young people, get into business so then you can, succeed. Victor, I think you did a report which showed just before this one. Successful entrepreneurs are the older entrepreneurs. So it's up to us and to create those businesses that can hire people who can then go and create more jobs. So I think I'm going to stop there because I think guys have listened quite a lot. But my point is, I think I'll end with that last point, which is entrepreneurs, business people can solve development challenges, create jobs, and make money while doing it. What we need to figure out is how we, as people sitting in government, people sitting on donors, financiers, academics, hubs, and business people ourselves, how can we help that environment, capital, talent, regulation, mindset, to make sure that that circle keeps going? Because that's what we need to kind of solve our own issues. And also, you know, it's Africa's time now. Kenya, African Free Trade Agreement, you know, everything. So this is our time. This is now. Let's stop just talking about all the problems. Corruption, inefficiency, there is all of that. But if everybody just picks on one thing that we can solve, I think we can make a big difference. And Victor, you've shown the way by doing one thing.
But I think what I want to say most of all is thank you for beginning. Thank you for the conversation. I am Dr. George Jenga, and we work with the USA Strategic Partnerships Program. We're in 3 areas, and we cover approximately directly 18 counties. And the first part is what we call the Kenya Small Business Development Centers. Here we have developed a system in each county at the county headquarters to advise on a metric-based system the micro, small, and medium enterprises. So it is free, thanks to USAID, and for this, please give them a clap. Number 2, it doesn't matter who you are, it's agnostic. Okay. Number 3, you must give us the basis of starting to advise you. Whether it is at the training level, we will measure you. From the training level, we will take you up and show you how to start your business or to continue your business based on the data you have. 3, we will take you to the finances. If you need finances, that means we will help you to develop your finances, the financial bookkeeping. We will help you understand your market system. So we have market researchers on the ground who even do the GIS mapping of a particular product that you want to sell. If you say chicken, you want to go into chicken, we will not only advise you based on the training of the advisor on that, but also based on the market research done by the market assistant inside that program. And then we have the people who do this medium, small, upper, small, and medium. So for instance, in Nakuru, you will find the leather market, ginneries, the tanneries, the dairy, the meat, the wheat. The other day we found out that the silos in Nakuru are full this year, completely full. I mean, there are about 80 trucks lined up to enter that silo. Now what happens? Well, because national government gave free seed and gave free fertilizer. So there is an exogenous factor to the productivity of that county. But then how do you sustain that day in, day out? That's our problem to solve. That's what we try to advise the government. We work with the county government. Another thing I want to tell you, it's amazing how the county governments and national governments support initiatives that consider them an appropriate partner. There is not one county that has failed us. This is the other thing that I've discovered. No national government. I mean, we are literally redoing the whole MSEA, the Micro Small Enterprise Act. We are literally almost, touching every aspect of it, including funding. We don't know where it will go. The second program is the support systems that statistics has demonstrated grows population. Cooperatives, production cooperatives. If you get the production cooperatives working, then you can get the circles working, then you can get money available to people. And then finally, the business associations around those people. So the business associations of farmers, the business associations of KEPSAs, the business association of CAMS, the business associations of women, the business associations of people with disabilities. We realize that people with disabilities have no rights in Kenya, quote unquote. They cannot go to a government office. They cannot be communicated to because nobody is set up to talk to a deaf person. They cannot walk hobbling into Nyayo House. If they're blind, the first thing is that the guard at the main entrance of a government office will kick them out. There are the women who cannot leave the house because of various things. Healthcare. Now we're doing a healthcare plan. Anyway, the last one is that we're helping, thanks again to the USA, to chaperone. So as I speak, actually after this, that's where I'm going. We are designing the Economic Development Master Plan of the arid and semi-arid areas. So when I hear you guys speak about MSMEs, and I take you to Marti and Merti, I joke with those two, because Marti is in Samburu. It's the last point from which you reach civilization in Samburu. On the other hand, you have Merti, which is the last point in Isiolo you reach in civilization. The rest of the place is taken by Northern Range Trust and all those people who have ranches. Their pastoralists cannot reach those rangelands. So you tell me what doing business support index should be for Turkana, Samburu, Baringo, Pokot area, Tiati. For Marsabit, where I'm going next. For Northeastern, for Moyale, for Mandera, all the way to Kilifi. There is magic happening in those areas, and I would like you to go. So we're doing the Economic Development Master Plans to see, based on the people and their capacity and their assets, what can they do. And with that, I finish. I want to say that the conversation is due. And we have to actually discuss what business support is. Yes, you talk about SES. There is the national perspective, there is the local, direct, political issue of SES. The policeman, the city councilman, the CS, the governor. What is the financial system you're going to use for them? How are you going to manage it? If you put it as a national index, who will come in between the national level and the ward level? So, for instance, we collect cess in a county. How is it distributed to the ward level? Those are the questions we have a long way to go, guys. A very long way to go. We are talking about more than 25 counties that cannot be integrated under this system of business support. 25 counties. Do you know what it takes? 80% of Kenyans land. 80%. So what business support are we doing? For 5 towns, Mombasa, Emali if you wish, Machakos if you wish, but that's Nairobi, isn't it? Then you go to Naivasha, but that is Nakuru. Then from Nakuru, where do you go next? Eldoret, Kisumu. You may pass Thika and Nyeri on the side, you might pass Busia on the side, you might pass, Voi on the side. But what exactly are we measuring? And for who? And what is the target in their area? These are the questions that we're asking ourselves as we work with USH to improve their business plan and business strategies for most of the local people in Laikipia. Now, how do we put, what do you call them? These stores, where they can put their cold fish in Kisumu, they can put their vegetables. How do you stop the people who have the gates in markets in Nairobi, where the women wait at 3 a.m. in the morning to get their money? Yes, we are putting all these monies online, and how many people access that? Have we really done that? So, I have said that from the perspective that, guys, let's get together. Let's really think about our country. Let's get down to the CIDP, but not the CIB. At the moment, we need to really work on it. We have done it for the 8 to 9 counties. And I can assure you one thing. We have a long way to go. But pray that we have started Victor, and pray that we continue, and pray that we integrate with the people at the indigenous level and at the international level. I am in all of them. All right? All of them. We are now setting up, actually this afternoon, we are setting up the holding ground for feedlots from Turkana, Samburu, Baringo, and so on. So I've gone with all those pastures. And at the top here, I am exporting to Europe avocado oil. Value addition in avocado. Probably the largest. And I chair that company. And in between the technologies, and I can tell you that over these 33 years I've been trying to do these things to try and see what exactly Kenya is. I find myself in a situation where we need a real discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I want to say, let's give Viva a big clap for what they have done. Thank you.